As soon as I started opening up the walls and started doing work in there, the room started shaking and moving.
Is it a safety issue? Is it a structural issue? Yeah, it is.
I wasn't even expecting this, which really freaks me out, and I'm getting a little nervous.
The home inspector didn't even write the fact that that existed.
Is it going to fail? It's not is it, it's when. And when it fails, it takes everything with it.
I get a little pissed off. He should have seen something like that.
Clayton, I think they did the right thing. When buying a house, they brought in a home inspector. They didn't have a lot of money, so they were looking for a house that was a fixer-upper and negotiated a price based on what the home inspector found. They had budgeted, based on the inspection, to do electrical, plumbing, and the furnace just like the home inspector told them. But then they ran into a bigger problem, and this bigger problem is about to cost them more money that they don't have. That's a problem. I'm going to go in, I'm going to do a homes inspection, I'm going to find out what needs to be done, and I'm going to make it right.
We just made a pact that we wanted to find a house that had character, but it also wasn't going to fall down. It had a lot of potential.
Compared to other things that we looked at, this one had pretty much everything on our checklist. It was a complete package.
Yeah, it's perfect.
Yep. The home inspection was crucial to buying the house for peace of mind, just like it's such a big investment, so you want to make sure that what you're investing in is, you know, structurally sound, and you want to know what you're getting into.
When I first saw the 3-season room on the back of the house, I'm an illustrator, so I work from home, and I really prefer to have a studio where there's light. So when I saw that, I was like, oh, I can make a studio with full surround natural light. I mean, it would be amazing. I'd get tons of work done, it'd be inspiring. I thought, well, that's kind of my selling feature, and Clay's was the fact that she grew up on the street, and combined, it made like the ideal situation.
Clay.
Clay.
I'm Mike. Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you, Mike.
Clayton, yeah.
Absolute pleasure. You guys find this? Clayton?
Not really.
Good food?
Yeah, very good food.
Okay.
The home inspector didn't give it a glowing recommendation or anything, but he said structurally it's fine, but it needs a lot of work inside on a lot of things. Like it's just been let, kind of go.
I'll accept that. I mean, it's not falling apart, but there's room for improvement.
And we can use that to negotiate,
Yeah.
That's what we figured, because we both grew up in construction zones, like our parents like to renovate, and so we were used to that, and so we thought, we'll just do it.
And I understand that you've come in with this full open-minded that you're going to buy an older home, you're going to put some money into it, so it wasn't a surprise that the report actually gave it a number 3. So 1 out of 10, it gave it a 3, saying needs a lot of work, more or less. Yeah. The inspector did catch quite a few things. You have so far to date put in a new furnace?
Yes.
What else have you done?
Well, we put in a new bathroom upstairs, new plumbing, new electrical, like everything.
You got the permits, you did everything properly?
Yes.
Fabulous. Okay, so new furnace, what do I see? Not so much that the inspector caught it, it was done wrong by the furnace guys. Here's air in, here's air out, right?
Yep.
Not allowed to be within the air conditioner. You keep this in mind. You're going to have to move your air conditioner.
Okay. We didn't move in immediately, but we were very excited. I spent the first month here at the house. I took the month off to renovate. And we actually stayed on budget for all those things. We were exactly on budget for the items that we thought had to be fixed. But it just started snowballing after that, and every day you find something new. I wanted to fix her upper, but I didn't want to spend my entire life fixing it up. And it just was getting kind of, the world was closing in on us for all my money. It was getting a little stressful.
Now, this appears to be an addition on the back, but it is old. Now, what did the inspector say about this whole back area?
Not much.
Not much, because he didn't know what he was looking at, did he? That scares the hell out of me. What I don't like is the structure. Right from the beginning, I'm seeing the structure. You have any issues walking around in there?
Like when you step on the floor, it moves. Like some days, especially when it's windy, you can feel a little bit of shake going on.
That's usually not a good sign.
No.
This is a house that's supposed to be stable.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. When we moved in and Clayton started loading up the 3-season room itself, the more things he put into the room, when I was outside, I was kind of fearful just looking at the structure from outside. I didn't think that you could put too much into that room and it would hold up.
As soon as I started opening up the walls and started doing work in there, the room started shaking and moving, and it was sketchy, and I really didn't feel comfortable working out there.
It's on concrete columns, okay, but it's all wood structure. One, wood does not touch concrete because both are porous, and we can actually transfer water from the concrete to the wood, which helps to rot out the wood. We can see the wood. It's starting to definitely rot out. The problem is the structure. A single 2x8 is this beam here. 2x8, 2x8, then 24-inch on center, holding up at least 3,000 pounds. I bet you it's more than that. This is not how we do this. If you're going to do concrete, everything must be steel and or concrete. If this gave way, say it fell in, could it pull the post out, which is holding up the top? The answer is yes. Is that a lot of weight up there? The answer is yes. And look at 3 nails plated into what? If this wood is rotten, what's under the flashing that's there? And what's it nailed into? The question is it going to fail? It's not is it, it's when. And when it fails, it takes everything with it. This is going to be a job, but I like challenges.
This whole thing makes me completely nervous. Really careful, okay? This seems really dangerous to me.
The home inspector warned us that there's a lot of work to be done, and eventually this house will be a very nice house for somebody. When I found out that that room possibly could collapse, I was really pissed off.
Memories. Well, you know, it brings me back to being a kid. You had the original walls in place, the big, and look at this is all old oak. So if you do a major renovation here, keep the oak because people would love to reuse this oak. Take it to a reclaim it store or something, or just redo the house. Let's go right upstairs. Old character. Sit. Nice dog. New bathroom?
That's the new bathroom.
So what'd you do with the new bathroom?
Toilet, sink, tile, walls, insulation, vent.
You got the permits? You did everything properly?
Yes.
Okay, I'm impressed. So we look around, and what do we see? What's on the wall?
Well, there's the paint, the oil paint.
Now, based on this house being, you know, over 80 years old, what are the possibilities of the paint?
Lead.
Yes. Now, more than likely, there's lead paint there. So you need to keep this in mind, okay? Because you're in here, working in here. I see, you know, you're taking a room at a time. But the problem is you're actually putting the lead throughout the house, and you have a forced air system, right?
Yeah.
Keep this in mind. This is a dangerous thing for your body, right? So this room is bedroom under construction, yes?
Yeah, it's supposed to be the master bedroom.
It's supposed to be the master. Okay. And behind me, I suppose, is the access to the attic.
Exactly. It's a tight one.
This big. Okay. So it's the old plank board roofing. Small signs of moisture. I do not see any breathing points where the rafters meet the soffit to allow air in here. This is an issue to me. This is a concern to me. It needs to be addressed. I'm going to actually go get my tools. I'm going to go through this whole place, and I'm going to look at what the inspector missed, what he did catch, and then we're going to see what we need to fix.
Awesome.
Okay? Give me the day, and I'll let you know.
All right.
Keep smiling.
Thank you.
Pleasure to meet you.
You too.
Okay.
I feel like I'm in like a constant state of flux, and like I haven't had a chance to actually like settle into our home, and it's not really a home.
We're just about out of money, patience, and physical strength, really.
There's a lot of work going on in this neighborhood. Well, you would expect that for a street that's around 80-something years old. But I do see from standing here, whoever did the roofing came in and ripped out all the flashing and did a new asphalt shingle, and they didn't bother replacing the flashing that is used to be there. That's not in the report. In truth, I don't care if the house is old. I don't care if the house is new. This shows how important it is to bring in a proper home inspector. Why? What is in the house? What are the problems? What do we need? Where do we need to put our money? I think the more we know, the better choices we have of buying a house for what suits our needs. And at this point right now, I am concerned about this, and I'll tell you why. I know there's a fireplace upstairs. The hot water heater is now going through the chimney. Is this correct? Is everything fine here? Is a great question in my mind and needs to be addressed. Do we have any issues with this wonderful gas heater here running into the chimney? Do we have a possible issue of off-gassing coming back in the house? It's a question. You know, it should be checked. We're going to have to come up with a plan on how to structure this from underneath. This has been here for years, but it is bouncy, isn't it? It's definitely bouncy. And I am concerned with the structure. It's just not good enough. Never mind even really close, because if this was my house, I'd want to make sure it's kind of safe. It's just an old home. It's over 80 years old. And it's actually, surprisingly, in good shape.
Good.
They put in new basement windows, and there's a few things on the inside and the front I'm going to show you, but look at the back. Stepping back for a sec, we see it's holding a lot of weight, and I don't like the way it's done, so here's what we have to do in the back. We're going to have to do a temporary support, and I want to keep an open porch in the bottom. We're going to go back to wood, and I want to structure and hold up everything on the top. We will have to confirm that these are down deep enough. Based on what I'm seeing, they are.
You want to come off of these is what you're saying?
Why not? If we can, why not?
Cedar deck?
Be nice, wouldn't it?
Yeah,
Cedar
sure
fence. He did the cedar fence, not bad.
Oh, he did that?
Yeah. You might want to hire him. Let's go to the front. They changed the electrical. They changed the furnace.
I know, I just saw that.
So let's bring in the bros.
Right in.
Let's bring in the bros. Let's see if we can help them on this.
Okay.
Now the attic is another story. I got stuck in it.
Oh, did you?
So I don't even think you want to try and get your body up there. However, let's make the access to the attic big enough. There's not enough insulation. There's no breathing from the soffits. Let's correct that.
Okay.
The home inspector, I mean, he's got a lot of good things. So, I'm going to pat the guy, and then I'm going to smack him a bit and go, look, you missed a big structure in the back. what I like is we finish the room up there, we make it safe, we make it warm, let's use our systems that we do, okay? Then he now turns it into his studio, and maybe he'll draw something like, you know, you.
Nice. I don't want him drawing me. Something nice.
Any problems? Phone me.
I will, buddy.
Thanks.
Okay, thank you.
No, I'm not going to get in here. Okay. We need to make this bigger. All right, I'm stuck. Damon!
Well, here we are Monday morning, ready to start on this project. You can tell that everyone in the neighborhood is doing the same thing, and here jackhammering over in the other yard over here. But this is a very, very dangerous situation here. We can't see a tie-in connection upstairs. What does that mean? This thing is basically floating on these two pillars here. Makes me nervous as hell. What I have to do today, engineer's coming at 1 o'clock, so is Mike. We all want to take a look at this. So I'm going to open up a 1 or 2 foot channel right here. What I'm looking for is the connection on the back plate of this structure, seeing if anything is tied back into the house. Anything that's going to make me feel better about this standing on its own. The only thing that tells me here is that I'm a little more happier that at least something is tied back into the house. This beam right here ties back into the house. I don't know how far. The only thing left is the room upstairs. See how it's tied into the rafters. It's easier to actually rebuild new than work around a crappy structure. I'm really hoping that Mike and the engineer will just say, Damon, rebuild the bloody thing.
Why in the old days did they always run the floor joist this way, parallel with the wall, rather than, you know, 90 degree off the wall? It always tends to sag, doesn't it, when you do it that way?
And it's so much easier to tie it into the existing structure if you can tie each joist in rather than having it just 2 points, and they're probably not very good points, and so it's not got much lateral stability.
I don't think it's tied in at all to the wall, to be honest. I think it's just cradling. If we look at the floor joist here, and I'm going to assume these two beams are the same, with this joist here being about 1 inch in, and the other one being about 1.25 inches, because this can easily rot out and the weight load is on this, what will happen is that I'm going to assume this will break down. When this breaks down, it pushes this out, and the structure will come down.
And then I think once you get rotation at this end, anything can happen to these posts, particularly because they're not well connected up at the top.
What I'm thinking, and I would love you to okay it, is what if we do a ledger plate against the wall, we bolt it into the wall, joist underneath the whole structure that runs this way, joist it out this way, and hang it on the front, turn everything to seat underneath.
I like that idea. I like the fact that it takes the load off these side beams and puts the load into the front here.
So are we talking about keeping that, trying to keep the walls and the framing as is as we're doing this?
Yeah, we can always add to it on the inside upstairs. Why put it in a landfill if we don't have to? Let's go take a look inside. All right. This was probably a porch, right? Just like downstairs was. Then they closed it in. So it was okay when it was a porch. There was no weight on it, no drywall, no nothing. And to change the structure, a 2x6 notch like that, carried on top of the wall, sistered against the old 2x4 rafters.
And not really tied back to it either. I don't see much in the way of nails through there.
And did they even attach this 2x4?
No, absolutely not. No nails.
I don't believe that. Okay, let's just take it all down. Leave all wood structure. Just remove all the drywall, lath and plaster. So it is lath and plaster. It just tells us how old it is. It's old. Yeah. I was thinking this morning we were going to take it down. I'm thinking, oh, come on, there's a way to do this. There's always a way to do it if you think about it. Put the minds together and we'll make it right. Yeah. So let's do that. Draw it up, come back and build it.
I understand what Mike's talking about. We are tired of filling landfills. We do a lot, but in construction, we have to learn to stop filling them. Do what we can to preserve what's here, but working with old crap sometimes is more of a pain in the ass than actually rebuilding it. Today, take down the plaster. It's pretty old and there's probably a lot of lead paint in this house. Mask for sure. All the debris out the back window, okay? Just toss it over in garbage bags. Make sure there's no one underneath you, obviously.
Well, we're within code from the meter. The only issues we're having right now is our vent pipe is not 3 feet from our air conditioning unit. The risk having the vents near the electrical is if you have a pre-purge on the furnace, meaning it's going to try to start and it lets a little bit of gas out, or it doesn't ignite. It has a failure of ignition. If you have any type of electrical short in this air conditioning unit, while this is off-gassing, you can have an explosion. So we're going to relocate this air conditioning a little further out so that's away from these vents. Another issue we're also having with the vent piping is it's supposed to be insulated. These pipes do condensate. So we got to run an insulation from the wall underneath the deck all the way to these vents. The way it is now, it'll freeze. It does condensate, it'll freeze, block off your exhaust or your fresh air, and hence turning your furnace off. So you'll be left with no heat. They used to use a lot of aluminum back in the day. It's no longer code. You're no longer allowed to use it anymore. The aluminum can't withstand the heat. It tends to rust a little quicker. and it's a very light gauge aluminum. Now they tend to be a lot weaker. You can bump into this. You can break these very easily. So you got to go to a heavier gauge metal. If it does break, you're going to have carbon monoxide coming into the house. That's the risk. So anytime you're replacing a hot water tank or putting a liner in, you need to take this aluminum light gauge metal out and put in a heavier gauge. We do have the chimney liner in. We're going to make sure it goes all the way up.
We have verified that the hot water tank in the basement does have its own separate liner going right the way through to the basement, and it's not interconnected with this chimney whatsoever. And that is correct, and according to code. So it is safe because it has a liner to vent the gases straight to the outside air. Okay, that's a lot of lumber. Get this in the back, guys. Make it last, boys. You ready?
1, 2, 3.
You two, why don't you start with the beam? The beam that's actually going to hold up this thing when we take the post out, right? Carl, I want you uncladding these beams, okay? I want you taking off the 1x material. Because you and I are actually going to put the plate on, the new plate that's coming under this. Right. When we go to do our new floor underneath this, right? We're going to do a new floor underneath this to support the other one. Try not to pry too much off this way so this thing doesn't want to slide. Oh, sure. This whole thing makes me completely nervous. Really carefully, okay? The whole weight of this whole thing is sitting on a 2x6 off each side. It's not even doubled up, it's just a single. Oh, Jesus. So what are those nails actually hitting? Nothing. Air. Be careful. Take the rest of this down, please. Just take that down. We were sure it was a double. I wasn't even expecting this, which really freaks me out. So that side's going to be the exact same. If both of us were to push on this beam right here, this whole thing will slide out of those pockets, guaranteed. Those aren't in very well, and I'm getting a little nervous. Let's get that plate on, secure this. I have to think about this a little more.
Our challenge is going to be is how do we hold it in place to rebuild it? To take all this down, what are we doing? We're putting it to the junkyard.
Right.
Landfill.
Yeah.
The wood's good. Let's use it. Let's hold it in place. Let's rebuild it and put it back.
Okay. All right.
Well, let's go get them. Let's walk them through it and let them know what the inspector missed and what he was good at. So we know that there's problems on the inside to do with the new furnace you guys installed. And was it those guys that did the furnace that did the ductwork from the hot water here?
Yes.
Okay, they did it wrong, so that's not a good sign. Not so much that the inspector caught it. It was done wrong by the furnace guys. We had an issue, and I talked about this, the air conditioning sitting in place right by the venting, so the exhaust from the furnace as well as the intake being right over top of the air conditioner, unacceptable. So what we've done, because you need a new air conditioner, right? We've disconnected it.
Oh.
So we've now made it legal. You're going to have to find another location for it when you put in your new one.
Right.
Let's go around the back. Cool. Everything you can think of is wrong here structurally. The only thing that's probably holding it together is the concrete that is tied into the brick.
Scary.
The actual, we'll call it an addition, is not attached to the house. It's just sitting against it. There's nothing anchored in there whatsoever. The whole weight of it is being held by the 2x6 beams that are barely even fastened to those metal posts. So let's look at this for a sec. If those beams at the bottom that hold the concrete rot out, they're going to do this. So if they cave out, the concrete floor goes down, pushes out the columns, drops the whole thing down.
Hey.
Just like that.
I'm not working out there.
Yeah, that's your room, right? That's not a good idea. So here's what we're going to do. I brought in an engineer, and we are going to reconstruct this whole thing without taking it down, because I know we can do it. So that your room is safe, warm, and you have something to draw with, okay? We're going to make it right. Nice and simple.
What he said they're going to do sounds amazing, and I'll be able to get back to work and pay for the rest of the house that we have to pay off.
Well, it's a bit of a crappy day today. Not exactly the day to be building a deck, but can't stop now. We got to keep plowing ahead. So right now, Carl, Kate had the beam in yesterday. They did a great job of actually supporting this thing. Now we're going to put some carriage bolts in here, fasten this ledger plate into the inside of the house. We're going to put our new bracket in. We're going to put some carriage bolts in through here. This is going to be so strong, and we're going to be able to move it. Now I have to level it.
For an inch and a half.
It's got to go up an inch and a half on my side. Yeah. Okay, here we go. Oh, it's going up. Why don't we just say that's even? No, just tell me it's a little bit more. That's really good now. It's good? It's pretty good. It's pretty good or is it good? Tell me if it's level.
Good. It's off like an eighth right now on the whole pole.
We're cranked, right? I want it level.
That's good.
That was holding up the upper structure. That's an incredible distance. We've already leveled that. We've only leveled it left to right at this point, and we're already at least 3 inches off that plate. That shows how unlevel this was originally. Scary.
It's at about 3 inches.
It's going to go up 3 inches? What is it, sinking? Oh my God, there's no way I want to level this thing. This seems really dangerous to me. And right now, I want this to stop. I don't want to jack it up anymore. I can't guarantee that concrete's work. I didn't do that concrete. If we did that concrete, I can guarantee that that concrete will stay in place. We put so much pressure on weak concrete, it could actually puncture right through that concrete. What happens then? What are we having to support that? That's supporting my beam. We're underneath that beam. Guys, come off the deck, please. I want to get basically a squash block underneath that post right down to something, okay? So I want a block on the ground, and I want to get something right underneath it to transfer that weight load right down to soil, okay? We'll crank it and level it. I got the girls out of here just in case it decides to come down. It's me and you, okay?
It was a pleasure working with you.
All right. You ready for this?
Perfect! Oh, hallelujah! Perfect!
Finally. Hey, Carl, give me that post. Let's get this into place. Well, we're just putting in our last post here. We have to get these in order to demo this deck. I cannot leave my jack post in place holding up the beam. Oh, don't even touch it. It's perfect. If I finally feel comfortable enough to get my crew in here, start jackhammering this. It's a lot of movement when we're tearing this out. I don't want that to affect this. So we bring our structure underneath, holding the upper up. We then bring our post down, bring it on the outside of our deck so I can safely work on this thing.
God. I cannot believe that just happened. My whole plan has actually gone out the window now because we're basing it on using these things. The engineer was hoping on it, Mike was hoping on it, I was hoping on it. Everything was based on that, using our new framing to come off of it.
That it's severed at the ground because I think when this thing shifted, the easiest point for it to break would have been at the ground. It's solid underground, so it's holding it in place, but everything from there on, it just sheared. Very dangerous.
Everything we take out just seems to say this thing was more and more dangerous the more we find out about it. It definitely sets me back here.
Oh, that is disgusting. Okay, everyone, let's get serious. All right. Look at that, the wind helped us. So Carl and Kate did a great job of getting our blocks back to where they were. We filled it with rebar. We filled it with concrete. This is not going anywhere. Obviously, having to enclose this area and heat the hell out of this, we're in -10 weather here. Now we can get our posts into place, get our basic framing down, and then Paul can actually finish this deck, get the cedar going, while we jump upstairs, keep rolling.
As any typical deck floor, you've got to have the proper support structure, you've got to have the proper framework. This is going to be a pretty beefy floor. We're going 12 inches on center on 2x8s over an 8-foot span, so super chunky. This is way above code. It's going to be cedar above, pressure treated below. So the pressure treated, all your cut ends, we're coating all the ends. Substructure for fraying, always pressure treated. That's the only way to fly. It's going to be rot proof, bug proof. The moisture's not going to be able to affect it over time. It'll last forever. But when it's on the surface of the deck, the sun can eat it for breakfast. So the substructure, it's awesome. But cedar has like natural oils in it. It'll last for like 25 years. It's a much more resilient product.
Mike couldn't get up here, huh? Let's just see. Oh, come on. What was he worried about? Just gotta make your own hole. There we go. Well, the insulation's definitely old up here. It just looks like it's broken down. It's uneven. It could use a little bit more. I would actually get this sucked out and actually bring new in. Definitely no breathing up here. There's not enough vent. So what I'll get Alex's guys to do, I'll bring in some baffles. We'll get the insulation back so that we actually get proper circulation up here. We use baffles within the joist span that come from our soffit area on the outside to within our attic space. It allows 1.5-inch airflow to our attic without any obstruction from insulation. And you need air circulation here, which means you need air coming in through my soffit vent, in through the baffles, and into my attic, getting proper air circulation and out through the roof vents. You want to treat this basically as an outside temperature. Whatever temperature is outside, you want it in here.
Well, two key elements to any roof is proper ventilation and proper insulation in the attic. And by not correcting those issues, by not catching those issues, basically this roof's not going to last its warranted life. You can decrease that up to 10 years with improper ventilation. We're changing out all of the vents to a better quality vent, more critter-resistant vent. Typically, we ventilate a roof based on its attic footprint or square footage. We need to meet a certain amount of square footage of ventilation, both in intake and exhaust being roof vents, and an equal amount of open area for the intake. Typically, attics on older houses just had roof vents, which is really only half the battle when ventilating your attic space, because you're relying on the warm air that's escaping through the house into the attic area to push up and sort of bellow out of the roof vents. When you introduce a cool outside air intake, you're actually going to get a draw effect, much like how a chimney works. There was a fairly obvious opening in the upper gable on the peak. The roof had been done, I guess, a few years ago anyway, and the roofers forgot to put a wall flashing across that area. The problem with that is if you have any wind-driven rain or snow and ice, it can creep into that area and cause water issues inside and chances of mold or mildew.
Did it hold, Joe? Yeah, no, it's okay. This is what I call a privacy screen. A privacy screen, for me, is something that's going to give you privacy, but at the same time adds a wow factor, if you will. The neighbor's window's like right there, so if you're sitting at a table here, you're kind of looking right into that window. So instead of blocking it off, we're gonna kind of put this little airy type of arrow point design that I've created. Blocks the view, but doesn't feel like a wall. That's the important factor. It feels very airy, but not like a wall.
Okay, pass the wires. Okay, guys, 2:45. We have spray foam in 15 minutes. Clean up, patch any holes that's necessary so spray foam's not leaking outside. We have 15 minutes, 20 minutes tops.
What pressure? Pressure's always on. The pressure doesn't stop. The pressure exists constantly here.
What we're doing for a little bit nicer appearance is using a cedar shingle. Cedar, even though it's a softwood, is a very resilient material in exterior applications because of a lot of natural oils and acids, which kind of resist water infiltration, saturation. It is a renewable resource as well, so it's somewhat of a green product. Installed correctly, it does have a similar lifespan to asphalt shingles, which are an oil and gas product.
Now we can look.
Look. Oh, pretty cool. Whoa.
Whoa.
That is, wow.
When I found out that room on the back possibly could collapse, I get a little pissed off. The home inspector should have seen something like that.
Well, we're coming near the end, so of course we have everyone here today. Paul from Cutting Edge, he's going to finish off the deck today, give us a set of stairs. We also have trimble windows here today.
One of the most common problems with installing windows is that they're not properly shimmed and supported. You want to make sure these shims are just firm enough against the window that it doesn't raise it up too much, but also that it doesn't allow the window over time to sag. If this would start to sag down, your gap up here where the weather stripping is would start to drop, allowing the wind in.
It takes a lot of work to bring back something that's very old to something that's new and into today's code, basically. But Mike is absolutely right. Why are we tearing down structures just to rebuild when we don't have to? It was a lot of work to keep it, but at the end of the day, we're not filling landfills. We're actually salvaging what was here and just keeping the stuff that was good, but just adding to it. We were able to actually keep this. And I think Mike is going to be actually pleasantly surprised with the look of this. I'm pretty proud of it.
Mr. Bennett.
Mr. Everybody, I think, on this.
Well, I got to tell you, this is actually quite stunning.
Those guys did a fantastic job on this deck.
I just came around the corner and wow.
Just everything that was happening here making us nervous, right? Because as it was sliding around and wanting to move and us restructuring it, it's just a lot of nerves, right? You want to make sure everyone's safe. Make sure, this is a job at the end.
Were you nervous at all?
Absolutely.
I know, I got the call. Holmes.
It is not going anywhere for another 100 years.
I'm telling you, this is really good. 100% thermal broken?
Absolutely 100%.
Good job.
Thanks, buddy boy.
I think they're going to like it.
They better.
Get 'em.
Okay.
Real good job.
Thank you, man. Hey, guys. How you guys doing?
Long time no see. I love this. Clayton. Clayton. What do you think? Nice to see you. Clay, nice to see you. We brought in Steve Graves. We fixed the flashing in the front. It was quite the gap there.
It was a huge gap, so whoever redid the roof never did the flashing.
Since we're up there, what else do we do?
We actually added insulation to the attic. You should have seen your old insulation. I mean, it was broken down so much, it would just fall apart in your hands, right?
Oh, nice.
It wasn't doing anything anymore. You might as well have nothing up there.
Well, it felt like it.
Yeah, how do you feel now? You notice the difference already?
We noticed the day that the truck, we noticed out front.
Yeah.
That night, we didn't have to use like comforters on the bed. It was like night and day.
The biggest problem we had up there was that not just the insulation, it wasn't breathing properly. So we've had Mr. Graves come in and take care of that and raise our roof fence up higher, eliminate the ones that were down low, as well as go around all the way around the house, open it up, and make sure that we have that airflow going into the attic. If you like that, you might like your new room. Let's take it there. Okay, come on, right out. Let's just get right in here.
Get in there. You can actually walk in here now. Wow.
Holy Can't even believe it.
Well, if you're excited about this, I'm excited.
It's amazing.
You'll love the windows. These are the quick sliders. I love them. So you just pull these out. Okay, so you have to wash the outside.
And that is really for you because this is your room, not for Clay, but for Clayton to clean the windows.
Oh, yeah, for sure. Yeah. Don't worry.
So far, so good.
Yes.
Wow, let's save the best for last. Let's go downstairs.
All right, that's good.
I don't know if I'll even leave my house now, to be honest. Like, it's like a cocoon almost in there. Before, that room was freezing.
The finishes and the color, and it's all coming together, and it's beautiful. Just shocked.
Now we can turn around, and now we can look. This is pretty cool.
Whoa.
Whoa.
It's pretty cool.
Are you kidding?
That is amazing.
Jeez, man. It's beautiful. No,
Yeah,
it's gorgeous,
it's really
man.
gorgeous.
That is, wow.
Structurally, this was incredible because we had to support the upper, right? And that was a beam right across underneath, right down, so we could pull everything out at the bottom. Actually, who was it, Carlito or you that kicked over the column?
I did. Then it's severed at the ground because I think when this thing shifted, the easiest point for it to break would have been at the ground. It's solid underground, so it's holding it in place, but everything from there on, it just sheared. Very dangerous.
Really, it was a catastrophe waiting to happen. No, it's not. Bringing in Paul, very special deck guy to have. He's extravagant. He's brilliant. He's an artist, right? The simple look of using 2x4 instead of straight on as a louver. So from that neighbor's shading this side, and from this neighbor shading this side. And it gives you that privacy as well as that wonderful, like that wall is pretty cool.
Thank you so much.
Very, very, very happy. Yeah, we could have never done this because just financially, there's no way we could have put on a project like this.
Good people, you get what you give. Right?
Absolutely.
You're good people.
Oh, thanks.
Yeah, you got it back.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you.
Happy?
Very much. Very much.
Good. You each have your own space. That's yours up there, and this is Clay's down here. Right?
Thank you.
I think you'll both be sharing.
I think so. I definitely
Thank
so. Overwhelmed, really. Dude, it's amazing.
I am blown away.
I'm just like, man, I'm so lucky that I wrote that letter.
So an awesome good job.
Doing an amazing job.
Cheers, everyone.
Cheers.
Under the Clay. You did draw something.
Look at this. Look at this. Holy bleep. No wonder I'm freaking. There's the homeowners.
That is wicked.